Well, it's been a long time coming, ladies. The inaugural PWHL draft is finally upon us. And, you know, we at TSN had to celebrate with a little mock draft action. Julia Tocheri, Tessa Bonhomme, Cheryl Pounder, Kenzie Lalonde with you. And we're going to go through the first 2 rounds of the PWHL draft as we see it. But a note for viewers before we get started, 18 of the most notable players in the world already off the board. Teams had the opportunity to sign 3 players each in the first period of free agency. The rest of the players enter the draft. And with that, let's enter our draft. Tessa Bonhomme, put on your GM hat for Minnesota, the first overall pick.
I'm going to pretend to be Melodie Daou here. This is a no-brainer and undoubted. I don't think there's anybody that's going to refute this pick. From Lake City, Minnesota, a Patty Kazmaier winner in 2022, the 23-year-old Taylor Heisey, an unbelievable talent up front. I think Melodie Daou sees a lot of herself in her just in terms of point production and the way she sees the game. I played against Daou. She was a nightmare to play against. I've watched Taylor Heisey play. It seems like she's a nightmare to play against sometimes too. So undoubtedly this is the top prospect in the draft, and Minnesota connection as well, as she was a Gopher.
Well, she was a Gopher, and her coach, one of her coaches, was Melodie Daou, and she's been a captain at Minnesota coming off Patty Kazmaier, the best player in NCAA hockey. So she knows exactly what she can do. She's a leader both on and off the ice, and this is a no-brainer. Good job, GM.
Thank you.
She was the MVP at the 2022 Worlds in her debut. All right, Pounder, second pick, Toronto. Where are you going?
I'm going to roll up my sleeves and put my Cheryl Pounder hat here on, not my Gina Kingsbury, and I'm going to go with the second best player on the board right now, and to me, that is Alina Mueller. You talk about her point production and how unbelievable. Sorry, I know she wants to go to Boston, Miss Kenzie Lalonde, but if I've got the number 2 pick, I'm certainly going with her. She can distribute. She can shoot the puck. At Northeastern, she was one of the top players in her time there. I love the way that she makes everyone around her better. She's only 25 years of age, and I do believe that Toronto needs that top tier 1C to go along someone like Nurse, and you've got Turnbull, a 2-way player as well. So you're starting to see that center depth build in Toronto, although I think Gina Kingsbury may be looking at Larocque, and as a shutdown defender myself, it pains me not to have her on the board right now.
Yeah, she is Northeastern's all-time leading scorer. With that, we'll have Kenzie pick for Boston.
Well, Cheryl, I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, yeah,
this is going to take me a while. What a beautiful reunion it could have been in Boston. But there is another next rising star on the back end that we have to look at if you're Boston in particular, and reunite her with her former D partner in Megan Keller. So I am going to select Savannah Harmon without a doubt, bring her into Boston. She even played junior for the Boston Shamrocks before she went off to college. I think she's a 2-way defender. We've seen her rise at the Olympic and at the world stage. So without a doubt, I think she's one of the best D on the board, and I think she'll blend beautifully with Megan Keller in that lineup. So Savannah Harmon off the board. Welcome to Boston.
Totally. Look, I'm just going to say this, a blanket statement. The top 3 rounds, there is no wrong pick here. Any team would be happy to have any of these players. It's just a matter of how it's going to shake out. Cheryl mentioned Jocelyn Larocque. Yes, I do think she's going to end up in Toronto at the number 2. But like you said, you're not Gina. You're
I'm
Cheryl.
not Gina.
But who wouldn't want a Renata Fass and Jocelyn Larocque pairing? Listen, you're going to be facing a Marie-Philippe Poulin. You're going to be facing Hilary Knight. You're going to be facing all these players. You're going to need that shutdown D pairing. And for Savannah Harmon, I mean, yes, Boston probably licking their chops wanting a defender like that. Yes, Alina Mueller might and most likely will end up there. Savannah Harmon has ties to Montreal. Montreal does have a pick later in the draft that they're probably like, well, her fit is better here. But like I said, in this draft, it's just what we think is best, not exactly what's going to play out.
Well, as a former shutdown defender, I 100% agree with you in Fast and Larocque. You know, they're such a tandem on the international stage, and they're incredible. But for Savannah Harmon, someone who played at Clarkson, I look at her and I say this is a hybrid. So she can also play defense, but she can also activate on the blue line. So she's a point producer. She can be on a power play. And when you watch someone like her, the way she moves along the blue line is critical. So you can look from her from the back end to look at that point production. And she's not afraid to come up the middle of the ice. And guess who she's going to be looking for? A lot of different players up front, because she can move that puck.
4th pick, Tessa,
All
New
right,
York.
if I'm GM, Pascal Daou, again, I don't want to say this is a no-brainer, but this is a really great fit. We've got a young, talented defender. Defense wins championships, apparently.
Yes, they do.
Who is going to med school there. And look, New York's a tough sell, right? It's a very expensive city to live in. Nonetheless, Claire Thompson, there is no team that's going to scoff at that. I say they take her with their first-round pick.
Yeah, converted defender, if you will, someone who's played forward, and does she ever activate her point production is certainly something when she's on the back end. So that's a nice pick, Tess.
Set the Olympic record.
I think she's a good balance, too, with Zandy Hart as well. So I think to have them on the back end will bode well for Daou as he moves forward building his team.
You're right. Zandy Hart, more of a stay-at-home defender, so she can sit back while the other one goes.
5th overall, Ottawa.
I'm going with everyone. Roll your sleeves up. Someone who I thought would have gone in the initial 3, and that is going to be the one, the only Jamie Lee Rattray. And we've worked the rivalry series when we were in Ottawa and down that corridor. And man, oh man, did they love her there. Why? Because she played her junior hockey there. She is from Canada. So you're bringing someone home that's got community. She's got brand. But more importantly, she's got the timeliness of switching momentum within a game. We all know that she gets valuable minutes, not a lot of minutes, but she is a game changer. And I think that sometimes she's underutilized. I think she's a power play specialist. I think that she's one of the best in the world from below the tops of the circles. You know that she's going to be in and around the paint, and she is someone who can score. I think she's a naturally gifted goal scorer, so look for her below the goal line and below the tops of the circles. A great pick for Ottawa.
Yeah, Clarkson's all-time leading scorer. Kenzie, go ahead.
You can't talk enough about the importance of what she'll bring to the Ottawa market. I mean, I grew up in the same program as her, and Jamie Lee Rattray set the bar for not only the work ethic it takes to be a part of the national team, but her stride. I'll never forget my father saying, watch her skate. Yeah. Look how low she gets to the ice and her ability to extend that stride. I'll never forget looking up to her, and she'll inspire so many young players in the Lady Women's program and the Nepean Wildcats programs. And I think it'll also open the door for some of the depth that's a part of this draft when you look at other Ontario natives, Ottawa, Ontario natives like Sam Cogan and also Rebecca Leslie. So I think if they bring in Rattray, that could really open the door for some of those other Ottawa girls.
I think it's important to mention, too, that this is a shortened season, and the way these teams shake out in this shortened season, I can almost certainly say, will not look the same next full season. So to have a Jamie Lee Rattray who's a player that knows what it is to play a role and is willing to play any role and can play any role is very important, especially in a shortened season like this.
We'll go right back to you, Ken. 6th overall pick for Montreal.
Well, in Montreal, I would like to complete the trifecta. We have the world's best forward, the world's best goaltender, and I would like a world best defender, that is Jocelyn Larocque. She has to come to Montreal. Sorry, Cheryl, I get you back for taking Alina Mueller.
Oh, I'm not buying you a drink when we're on the road next.
You know what? And a part of this, Kenzie, I feel, has to do with not allowing Toronto to get that solid decor together. It's almost like a roadblock for them in this particular draft that we're doing.
And this is an opportunity to leverage, if I'm Danielle Sauvageau, to leverage Jocelyn Larocque's trade value. Because in order to win championships, you need a Jocelyn Larocque. You need a shutdown defender, and you need someone to get Marie-Philippe Poulin the puck, and she can do that. So as you look at the next year, I mean, Sarah Fillier will be available for the draft next year. So I am, holding on to Jocelyn Larocque for what she'll bring in the locker room, on the ice, and also future prospects down the road.
Because defense wins championships,
It does. Let me tell you, and as a former shutdown defender, I'm really jealous right now. But you have Danielle Sauvageau. You're in Montreal right now. Come and chat with Pounder, and I'm happy to make something work to try and get Jocelyn Larocque in my lineup.
7th overall pick, Tessa, Montreal once again.
Yeah, back to Montreal. And this is going to be a player that is going to complement Marie-Philippe Poulin. You need she's your pillar. You're building around her. Well, who complements her? Well, someone that's played with her before. Someone who's from the Montreal area is going to be great in the community. She's a great ambassador for the game, and that is Melodie Daou.
Yeah, and I agree with Melodie Daou in some respects because, I mean, her IQ, her patience with the puck, it is off the charts. I mean, that puck is on a string on her stick. But there is a question mark for me, and that comes around how much she's played since Beijing. And so that'll be the big question mark for me to see if she's up to stride, but she certainly is. Melodie Daou, she's an Olympic MVP.
She's come off concussions, she's come off knee injuries, and she's come back stronger. I got no doubt in this young lady.
Yeah, MVP at the 2021 Worlds. Back to you, Cheryl.
Well, I'm going to say it is going to be Ella Shelton.
In Ottawa.
And in Ottawa, because for me, Ella Shelton is one of those undervalued pieces, in my opinion. She's got good size. She can shut down the cycle. She takes away the middle of the ice. I love love the way that she can go north-south, and she takes calculated risks. And what I mean by that is I'm a shutdown defender, and everyone is talking about activate, activate, activate. Well, sometimes it's great to have someone who knows the position, but takes a calculated risk. So reads what's in front of them and jumps in at an opportune time, not every time. So I'm one of the GMs that certainly thinks that she's one of those players who's got an up trajectory. She's young, you know that she can play physical, and she can shoot the puck. She's not afraid to block shots. So I expect that in Ottawa, her point production, it will actually elevate because she'll be put into a role where she will see different opportunity.
Kenzie, New York has the 9th overall pick. Where do you see him going with that one?
Well, I think we have yet to see a goaltender come off the board. And as we look through some of the extensive talent that's on this draft board list, I'm bringing home Nicole Hensley. Take her to New York. The Lakewood, Colorado native has played in all situations, one of the most experienced American goaltenders on this list. I think it's a no-brainer. She sits 3rd in all-time Women's Worlds, goals against average. And again, I think she'll complement the American players nicely. And she's someone that will certainly be your reliable goal-to goaltender as you look on into the future. Still 29 years old. I think she's in her prime, so snag her up while she's still possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Goaltender, her, Maddie Rooney, either way, I could see either of them ending up in New York, but that is a solid choice. 2 good choices for you there, back to back. Joss, Nicole Hensley, my goodness.
Boston at 10, Tessa.
I know. See, I'm so conflicted in this one. I'm going to make this quick. There's a lot of offensive talent out there, and like a Lauren Gable, a Bach, but I keep coming back to the pillars of the team. Who are you building around? In Boston, it's Hillary Knight. Who's familiar with Hillary Knight? Who's good buddies with Hillary Knight? Look, I truly don't think she's going to go this high, but this is who I'm taking because this is my mock draft, and this is who I get to pick. I'm going to pick Hannah Brandt. Hannah Brandt, Hillary Knight, it just makes sense.
I like that.
It does make sense.
I like that a lot.
Familiarity, and I'm looking at familiarity as well. So I'm going to go in Toronto with Emma Malte, and you know Emma Malte is one of those players. She always keeps her feet moving. She cuts the ice in half. Kayla Barnes, a defender for the United States, said she is the toughest player to play against on the forecheck. But I also think again she's one of those players that can play anywhere in your lineup. She's a two-way hockey player. She's a PKer, but I think she should be seeing some power play time. She makes quick decisions. She's smart, and she's got a quick trigger release.
Important to note, she is an Ohio State Buckeye.
I know, I was going to say, oh yeah, you're right about that.
Very important to note.
I think also Malte will complement Marie-Philippe Poulin nicely. If you know, I talk of trade value, it would be nice to kind of see her come in, see what she could do with Poulin. And Sophie Bété would be some of those other players that I think if we talk about Larocque and that trade value would be kind of nice pieces to bring into Montreal. But I'm not the Montreal general manager anymore for this last final pick for Minnesota. I am bringing in one of their own from Excelsior, Minnesota, a graduate of a Gopher, Grace Zumwinkle. I think she has that strength, uses her size to her advantage. Underwhelming speed, I think it's something not talked about enough. She is so powerful, and most importantly, she has a wicked shot. Her points speak volumes to that, and I want to see her reunite with Kelly Panic on her left side. We saw them go to work at the Olympics, so I think why not make this a Minnesota family and bring in Grace Zumwinkle for that 12th pick.
I think it'll be interesting, too. There is, for everyone just to take note here, there is a very, very good goaltender, and I will say it, one of the best in the world, who hasn't played in a little while, at least on the international level or in any of the other leagues, is Noora Räty. And she is Minnesota-born. She's a Minnesota Gopher. She knows the area well. She still runs a hockey school there. And Minnesota has that snaking pick. They still need a goaltender. Now, whether Natalie Darwitz goes with an American on that side or Noora Räty, I feel like that's an easy pick. You could see either Grace Zumwinkle or Noora Räty or a goaltender go in either of those picks. But nonetheless, like I said, in these first 3 rounds, you're not losing. Yeah,
there's so many great, if you look at if Minnesota does take that third round top pick, you've got Räty, you've got Emma Soderberg, you've got Maddie Rooney. There are a plethora of Minnesota-based goaltenders that Darwitz can pick from, so it'll be exciting to see how they turn out that third round.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the third round is hot for goaltenders because of that. Even Toronto with the second pick, 2 Canadian teams already have their goaltenders gone. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kristen Campbell go as well.
Well, there you have it. We've had the opportunity to pick 3 of the brightest minds in women's hockey ahead of Monday's draft. The inaugural PWHL draft drops Monday.